Hi, my name is Takanori Komatsu from the Meiji University, Japan. So now I'm going to explain about our study. The title is Exploring Auditory Information to Change Users' Perception of Time Passing and Shorter. So also the processing speed of the computer or the data transmission speed of the internet have been drastically increasing by year by year. But users still have to wait for the computers to complete tasks or to respond, especially when downloading their large files or installing software or applications. So to handle with this kind of situation, two approaches have been proposed. One is to present current processing state to users directly by means of progress bars or the slow bars. So the other is to present certain information in order to change the user's perception of time passing as shorter. So maybe typical example would be the progress bar with kind of the ribbling animations or the slower or faster buzzer clocks. So due to rapid development of the smart speakers or the voice assistants, the eye-free interactions are becoming very popular and very common right now. So therefore, it's quite important to consider a new way or new method for the alleviating the impatient user feel, especially when waiting for the processing to complete, even in their eye-free interactions. Then the purpose of this study is to explore the auditory stimuli that can make users perceive the passing time as being shorter. So because we focus on the eye-free interaction style, though we specifically explore which auditory stimuli were perceived by users as I feel this sound is shorter. So actually this study consists of the three experiments. The experiment 1 and 2 these are to clarify which kind of stimuli were perceived as shorter or longer in the paired comparison manner. And the experiment 3 is to investigate how long did the participant perceive the duration of time to be from these stimuli in the bubble estimation manner. So let me explain about this experiment 1. So in this experiment 1, we prepared 11 auditory stimuli that has same duration but different number of elements. So duration was fixed at 10.1 seconds, and the elements of the stimuli is the 0.1 second sine wave sounds. It sounds like this one, like this one. And the number of the elements within the stimuli were 6 to 16 elements, and intervals between elements are equally divided into each stimuli. For example, there are named 6 elements that this stimuli sounds like.
Start.
So actually the interval between their elements was 1.9 seconds in this case. And the sounds like a sound of the 11 elements is
start.
So the intervals is about 0.9 seconds, right? And this is 16 elements.
Start.
Yeah, intervals between the elements is the 0.567 milliseconds or something like that one. So then among these, there are 11 prepared stimuli. The 2 stimuli were selected and presented to the participant in a paired comparison manner. Then after listening these 2 stimuli, the participants were asked to select their sound is longer or sound B is longer or the no differences. There are 3 selections. So each participant experiencing all their combination of stimuli, so that this means that each participant experiencing the 55 experimental trials. Then in this experiment, 152 participants were recruited by using their crowdsourcing system. But after eliminating the data of the 54 participants, the remaining 98 data were used for the analysis. So about the participants, the answer is +1 point was assigned for the sound A is longer, and -1 point was assigned for the sound B is longer for the A and the B combination in a paired comparison table. And this table was used for the calculating the evaluation point for each stimuli. So actually the average evaluation for all 11 stimuli in this experiment can be depicted like this one. Actually the positive value means that the participants feel longer, and the negative value means the participants feel shorter. So this picture clearly shows that the more elements the 16 elements or 15 elements or 40 elements, these elements were perceived as being shorter, while the fewer elements, like a 6 element or 7 element, were perceived as being longer. So this is quite interesting because this result is completely opposite to the very famous general findings of the field duration illusion. So this is kind of the basic cell of the human perception of time. That they say that the duration with more elements suggests to be longer. So that this issue is discussed in the later sections. So then let me move to the experiment 2. Yeah, like this. And in this experiment 2, the 9 auditory stimuli that has the same duration and the numbers, but the different interval pattern between elements. So there are actually this kind of the stimulus were prepared, and the duration was 10.1 seconds, and the elements were fixed at the 11 elements. So at a different interval pattern, the 4 stimuli are the intervals between the elements are getting wider, and the 4 stimuli is getting narrower. And the remaining one is they're neither the wider or narrower. Actually, the intervals between elements is the equal condition. Actually, we use their auditory stimulus called our 11 elements in their experiment 1. So among the 4 stimuli that got wider, so the one is a linearly changed with rapidly, and second one is a linearly changed slowly, and the third one is the inverse proportionally changed rapidly, and the fourth one is the inverse proportionally changed slowly, something like that one. So that these 4, the variation is also assigned to the getting lower stimuli. Yeah. Yes, for example, that this is the actually use sound and on this means getting narrower and linearly and rapidly. It sounds like
start. Stop.
Yeah, like this one. And also that the other one is getting wider, inverse proportionally changed slowly, so that this stimulus can be heard like
start.
This. Yeah, like that one. So actually, these 9 prepared stimuli were presented in a paired comparison manner as well as experiment 1. So this means that all the participants experienced in the 36 experimental trials. Then also in this experiment, the 173 participants were recruited by the crowdsourcing service, but the 103 data was used for the analysis. So as a result, the average evaluation for all 9 stimuli can be depicted like this one. So from this figure is also clearly show that the getting narrower stimuli, so that the NLS and NLR, NIS and NIR. So these 4 stimuli were perceived as being shorter, but while the getting wider stimuli is studied the WLR and the WIR, something like that. But these stimuli were perceived as being longer. So actually these 4 stimuli getting narrower is projected around here, but actually there are no significant differences among them. So this means that how the interval change for the stimuli that got narrower didn't affect the participant perceptions. Okay, so after this experiment 2, then I'm going to explain about this experiment 3. So actually, the longest and the shortest stimuli were extracted from this experiment 1, experiment 2. So then we conduct experiment 3 to investigate how long did the participant perceive the duration of time to be from these stimuli in their verbal estimation manner. Specifically, we prepared 5 stimuli. There are shorter or longer stimuli from each experiment, and also that we prepare the intervals equal the condition that call them 11 element again. Then we presented these stimuli in a counterbalanced order, and the participants were asked to estimate the duration of the stimulus from the 8 to 12 second in increment of the 0.1 second. So in this experiment, 101 participant data was analyzed. Then average estimated duration for the 5 stimuli can be depicted like this way. So from here, we could figure out that this gray one, NLR, so the stimulus was significantly shorter than the other 4 stimuli. So actually, the estimated duration of this NLR is about the 9.33 seconds, and the remaining 4 is around 10 seconds or something like that. But there are no significant differences among the remaining these 4 stimuli. So now I would like to sum up this study. So actually, we found that 10.1 second auditory stimulus called NLR was perceived as being about 9.3 seconds. So this means that the participant perceived 7.6% shorter than the actual duration. And also that we could find that the stimuli that intervals got narrower would make user perceive the passing time as shorter. So this is very strong result, I think. So as the next steps, we are planning to compare these auditory stimuli with a speech sound or music sound in terms of the effectiveness on the user's perception times. There may be the like a voice sound like "please wait a while" or the music on hold when using the telephone. So that these kind of the auditory information would be the candidate of the comparison target. And also, we also found that our result of experiment 1 was completely opposite to the findings of the field duration illusion. Specifically, our results show that the more elements were perceived as being shorter. But the field duration illusion shows that the duration with more elements are judged to be longer. So we expect that these differences would derive from the different duration of the stimulus. So because our experiment using about the 10 second durations, but the field duration illusion, the formal studies using the very short duration, like less than 1 second, or the longer one is 3 or 5 seconds or something like that. So then now we are planning to investigate the effect of the duration of the stimuli on the user's perceptions. So if you have any questions, suggestions, whatever, so please contact me on this email or access to my website. So yes, thanks for listening. So see you in future Kai conference somewhere. Bye.